Hi, Jason Spears here from drpremed.com. I want to talk to you about making yourself a viable candidate who has a better chance of getting into medical school. And what I want to talk about are the students who have an MCAT score of 515, a 3.89 GPA and better, but they're struggling to get into medical school. What would be going on? They have all the numbers, obviously, but just something isn't coming together for them to get into medical school. I want to tell you a little bit about what you can do to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Even if your numbers are lower, then this is going to be very, very important. I want to talk about making yourself the well-rounded applicant, the must-have applicant that adcoms are drooling over, who they absolutely want to admit and are doing everything possible to get you into medical school. So the first thing comes down to the numbers. Medical schools use computers to screen you. The first thing they're going to screen you is based on your MCAT score. And the average MCAT of people actually get into medical school is a 508. And then they're also going to look at your GPA. You want to be above a 3.5, closer to 3.7 or better. That's really going to give you a strong chance of getting into medical school. And so the third thing that AdComs look at after they look at the numbers, it's going to be your personal statement. Now, the personal statement is not something you play around or think is an afterthought. This can really make or break your chances of getting into medical school. And I've spoken with AdCons, and they've actually denied people or rejected applicants from getting into medical school based purely on what went into their personal statement. You have to make a strong case of why medicine and why you. That's what you need to put in your personal statement. And you want to grab the reader's attention immediately off the bat with a captivating story, subject line, or whatever you can do. And then you want to talk about two or three main topics at most. And then you want to close with a strong summary recap. And then I usually put the line, and this is why I believe I'll be a great addition to your medical school. That's what I usually close a lot of my applications with. And I have an over 95% success rate of the students who work with me on their personal statements who actually get into medical school. So I'm really good at what I do. And if you need help with that, then obviously reach out to me at the drpremed.com website, and I can see what I can do for you. But going back to this topic of having stellar numbers but not getting into medical school, what else can you do aside from your personal statement? You need to become the must-have applicant, and you need to package yourself as somebody that AdComs can readily identify with and see as somebody who they want to have at that school. And what I tell students you need to do is become that dream medical school applicant and know what are your strong areas, because when you apply to medical school, you can talk about 15 distinct extracurricular activities that you want to put down on your application. But what I tell students is you need to be very systematic about your approach to that. And one example I like to use is you need to make it very, very easy for AdComs to understand who you are and what you're about. So the perfect example I like to use is if you're a student athlete, maybe you didn't go to a Division 1 school, maybe you went to a Division 2, Division 3 school, and you played a sport. Maybe it was baseball, football, or whatever you have it, or even basketball, and you know you wanted to go to medical school. And so you're going to position yourself as a student athlete to the medical schools, and you're going to have your extracurricular activities, and you're going to say that you played your sport, you had a scholarship for it, whatever, but also you did other things. You volunteered to coach high school students or even elementary students and after their high school was out or their elementary was out, you coach them in whatever sport that was, because that's going to be your volunteering, giving back to the community, and it's also focused around that activity. Maybe you also participate in the Special Olympics, you coach that as well. And maybe you were also a student athletic trainer when you weren't in season, so you have your clinical experience with that. You shadowed an orthopedic surgeon. You also worked with the sports medicine department and family medicine doctors. And what you're doing then is you're positioning every single thing about you as sports and a student who also has a strong desire in medicine. And maybe you also did some research, wrote a paper, or worked with a professor on something that's sports related, maybe the mechanics of some type of injury or and the NFL had concussions are a big deal. So you would also say that you did some research on concussions. And what you're doing is you're filling out all the gaps that you need to put on your application, but you're doing everything around sports. And so that means when medical schools look at you like, oh, we want an student athlete in our incoming class, and you definitely fit the bill for that. And it's going to be very easy for them to identify you as a student athlete with all your sports connections that aren't just sports because you did research, you volunteered, you wrote a paper, you actually played the sport. And so that's going to make it very easy for them to choose you. Maybe you're not so athletically inclined and you're more of the student scientist. That's going to be your angle. You're not sure if you want to get an MD, PhD route, or maybe you want to get a master's or MST route while you're in medical school as well. You just know that you want to do something with the sciences. So here's what you're going to do as an applicant. You're going to position everything around the sciences. You're going to obviously work in a lab and do a lot of science research. You're going to have some papers that are published, but you're also going to help out with high schoolers and elementary students. You're going to help with a science fair or something like that. You're going to help them with their science projects. Maybe you're going to even volunteer with an after school program working with a high school science teacher, helping them set up the lab, helping the students. You're going to also tutor in the sciences. And you see what's happening here. When an AdCom looks at your application, they're going to know you as a science individual and the one that they want to admit because they're looking for that person has a science background. You can also do the same thing if you're musically inclined and you want to play instruments. You would position everything around instruments and music. So you would play your violin, play the piano. You would also give violin piano lessons to students. You would maybe there's a play or local community play and you're the pianist and you also play the piano at church, whether it's paid or non-paid activity. Even at the nursing home you play the piano, but you also have your strong science background, your academics. And so when adcoms are looking at you, they know, okay, this is a student who's musically inclined, plays instruments, and this is something that they're going to bring to our class. And so that's going to make a huge difference for you when you're applying to medical school, and adcoms are going to look very favorably upon that when they look at your application. So these are the things that you can do to stand out as a pre-med student applying to medical school when you want to get beyond just the numbers, because obviously the numbers are very important. You want to have that MCAT. You want to definitely be above a 508 if you actually want to apply and get accepted to medical school. And your GPA, you want to be above a 3.5, and you really want to strive for 3.7 or better. And if you do that and you also have a well-rounded application where you have that theme as an athlete, a musician, a scientist, and that goes through your personal statement. It goes through your primary application with your activity. It's going to make it very, very easy on adcoms to go through your application and say, okay, we need a student athlete, we need a scientist, we need a musician person, we need somebody who does something else, X, Y, Z. We need somebody who's really socially involved and things like that. That's going to make it very easy for them to pick you, whether instead of just having this hodgepodge smorgasbord of activities that don't have any rhyme or reason to them. So you definitely want to go through and do that to make yourself stand out when you're applying to medical school, and be very personable when you're writing your personal statement. It's not a resume in prose. You really want the reader to understand who you are as a person, what you value, and what you bring to the field of medicine. If you're able to do this, you're going to get those secondaries, you're going to get those interview invites, and it's ultimately going to lead you to get into medical school. And this is Jason from drpremed.com. Thanks and good luck to you on everything, and be well prepared for the journey that lays ahead while you're applying to medical school.